So if you do this, this is going to do what we showed in the video. And I'll say, but I'm doing it to make the point.
This is like see Paul work.
Yeah.
Paul works hard.
So what you can start to see is the cable is the outer jacket of the cable is deformed, and it's actually starting. You can see it's pulling the line, the center line of the cable around. So I'm just going to stop there because I'm not going to bother taking the rest of that off. And you can see how it's pulled the jacket. So let's just do this. Let's.
Oh yeah, excellent. Let's take a look and see that.
It's made a mess out of it. You can actually see
Oh yeah.
how
yeah.
it's deformed the braid. So I mean, it works, but it's not as nice a process.
One comment about those cable cutters.
Yep.
Don't use them for cutting anything else.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Poles, anything else.
Yep.
you know.
Trimming your tree.
Yeah.
Right.
Tone-
So
Really makes
toenails.
it a pole.
Guy wire.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the starting point for this, I just, for this example, I went a little bit long. I shouldn't have gone as long, but I would say, it's that long. Yeah, it's a couple of inches and one turn and you take it off, because if you go round, well, I'll show you what happens. If you do this, it actually turns, it actually starts to thread itself. So I'll take that off, but here, if you do it properly, and I probably didn't go all the way around on that first turn, it does a nice job and you're done. So with this tool, one turn gets you to this point where you can get started. I just pick a random length to start with. Once around, take it off, and then we're good and we're ready to go. I just picked that random length. It didn't really matter.
Took the braid too.
Yes, and the intent was to take the braid. And then I very carefully do this. And a hush fell over the room.
Being careful not to cut the center conductor off at the same time.
Thank you very much.
Or the end
It's more like they're
Thumbs grow back though. Center conductors don't.
Sometimes, depending on the cable, that center insulation is really loose inside the braid, which goes back to the earlier conversation, and the whole thing kind of jumps out of the. You're doing a lot of cursing. Depending on how fresh this cable is for the manufacturer.
And then I'll take this tool and I'll use the second end cut. And this is only taking off the outer shell, or the outer skin rather. And it stops turning when it gets to the right length. Okay? Then you tip it up and you open it up. And then you take a real close look at it to make sure that on this surface right here, you don't have any little whiskers. This surface right here, this surface right here. And then what you do is you take the connector and you feel around for the right point and you slip it on, and it actually stops right there. So you can see at this point, you need to trim back about 1/4 of an inch of material there to ensure that you can get it done, get the trim proper. And then
They fly all over.
And that's why my wife doesn't let me do
I was
that.
gonna say, you know what? I'm really pissed off.
Kitchen table.
Yeah, I'm thinking my shop vac would be handy.
my wife has fillings and she said it really hurts to bite down on one of those. Tiny.
I can actually feel that,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, my teeth, Jim, my mouth just cringed.
And
Shiny flecks on my coffee.
And there we have, you know, the braid, and it's random crimp, but we have it to the point where, trim the braid up to the point where when I slide the barrel up, and I go like this,
Oh, yeah. Sweet.
you know, it basically works the way it's supposed to. So what we'll do at this point is we'll get everybody to get to this particular length. And just get a little bit of that off because we don't need it all. No, I can't touch that. Now that I've done it, I can't touch it because if I do, I won't be able to get the end on.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is we need to get everybody to this point, and then we'll go to the next stage. Aren't they absolutely wonderful? I have one of those. Well, the thing that is really nifty about this, so I was just tuning up this new 80-meter antenna that I built, and
Here we go.
when you set the frequency, and it goes together, but when you, so let's say, where'd you set the frequency? And set the range, 3, so 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And when we scan it, then once you scan it, we can't do it if you don't.
Good enough?
Yeah, looks like you got a fair bit of it down there.
That looks good to me.
Yeah, that's good enough for me.
We put the tool on and then we eyeball the point at which the edge here matches up to the back side of the crimp tool, or of the crimp connector itself. And we maintain constant pressure on the barrel to ensure that it's right up, and make sure that we aren't over the edge, and it's done. So if we were to crimp up here, we're crimping right up on top of this, and that we don't want to be crimping there because that point there is right here. So that's why we crimp
There's
the
no
one.
insulation under here, but there is here.
There's no braid underneath here, but there is here. So the idea is we are crimping the outer barrel against that to make ground continuity on our cable.
There's braid here, but not insulation.
That's correct. Yes, exactly.
And Paul, can you explain once again the whole thing about feeling, how good the soldering was? You made a comment.
Oh, so the comment that I made was, it's the flow was really good here because it's nice and shiny. It's nice and shiny and it's smooth. But around here, it's a little bit pitted and it's cold because the solder wasn't as complete. Because the iron didn't get hot enough, he had to leave the iron on longer, and it will be good, but you should have that nice shiny look right there all the way around it. So the solder's a little bit cold there, and if you'd put the heat back on, you would have been able to reflow that and it would have been done. Okay. We've got our example here of where we crimped to, and the reason you can see it quite clearly, when we crimp here, we're crimping right to that line, which is the line here. So if we crimp there, we'd actually be crimping on top of plastic. We don't want to do that because this is making the mechanical bond between the inside of the barrel and the braid to give us ground on our connector. Start to place this in line with the end of the connector, and it becomes an eyeball situation, but we get it to that point and then we nip it off. And I would say it looks good because we've got solder that's continuous through there.
Okay.
And then what we would do, stand by a minute, and then what we do is come here and file card for this, but, and so it is a good solder job because we've got continuous solder through there. And then the only other thing we would do is use the emery cloth on it. And I would say we're in business.
Awesome.
Now, if you didn't have the soldering iron and you were in a pinch, you do have the dies.
Yes, that's correct.
You do have the dies to squeeze the end
Right.
of that.
That's right.
So, yeah.
It doesn't make as nice a job, but you're right, you could do that.
What size die would you use for that one?
It's about 10 feet.
Yes.
So 429 for the barrel and the other one that's marked for the conductor.